Time now for our rants and raves, and we'll start with you, Mike.
Rants and raves. Mine is for Heather Nayert, the former Fox newsie who the president says he is strongly considering as the new UN ambassador to replace Nikki Haley. And I just think she has almost zero experience in foreign affairs. To be the #1 diplomat of this country is a bit absurd to me. The president says she's excellent. She's been with us a long time. She's been a supporter for a long time, and she's really excellent. So this is what he says about it. So she's loyal to him. She is the State Department spokesperson most recently. Yeah. She's also been named, and I think this would actually be a better fit for her, as a possible successor to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. In that job, I think it might be appropriate, but to be the #1 diplomat of the United States, I think is absurd.
He loves people who look the part. Remember, he thought Ronnie Jackson, when he was going to be the head, what was he going to be, head of the VA, the personal physician, before he got bagged for that, he thought Ronnie Jackson looked just right. He thought Mitt Romney looked just right as a diplomat.
Well, she has a little competition because Jamie McCourt, formerly of Boston, is one of the other people up for that job, and she is currently ambassador to France.
So
and she's older, and also the co-chair of the Trump campaign in California.
Okay, so she's got loyalty. Right. At least she's got some background, though, experience.
All right, Adam.
I want to rant really quickly for the way the sports media as a whole covered a big game by Derrick Rose, the former NBA MVP. He was nearly out of the league due to injuries a couple years ago. Ended up scoring 50 points for Minnesota the other night. The press as a whole got really excited, talking about what an inspirational story it was, how everyone could see him as a role model if they'd been struggling with adversity. The problem is that Derrick Rose was accused a couple years ago of participating in a gang rape, of taking a couple friends of his. He admitted to having group sex with a former girlfriend of his, said that it was consensual, that she wanted to have sex with him and 2 friends of his. He was found not liable in a civil case in California, but the details of the case are deeply disturbing. The case is actually being appealed right now. And the press as a whole either ignored this very, very unpleasant aspect of everything Rose has been dealing with over the last few years, or they kind of tried to dance around it, saying, well, I'm not a judge and jury, but I just saw a really gritty basketball player there. I'm a big Timberwolves fan, even though they're the worst organization in professional sports. It's really hard to watch this with my daughter, who likes to watch the Timberwolves, and know what to say about it. And I think not everyone in the media dropped the ball here, but a lot of people did.
All right, good. Callie.
I have a rave for Joel Mathis for a column that he wrote in The Week magazine, in which he went back and looked at columns by a lot of African-American journalists and opinion makers saying in the moment during the 2016 election, raising concerns about the language that Trump was using that was racist and sexist and worse, and saying this portends something, pay attention. Do not swallow all of these narratives wholesale that is just appealing to the little guy and it's all about economics and it has nothing to do with race, blah, blah, blah. And he pulled all of their articles together, on many of them, and said, you know what? They were right. And when are we going to start listening? And the second part of his piece was, this is the reason why we need diversity in newsrooms. So we can have, somebody saying, no, I don't think so.
But he was suggesting that people had been dismissed. Who dismissed them?
Oh, plenty of people said, their response to the columns were like, you don't know. It's because you're black that you say that. Shut up about that. It's all economics. No one's racist here. And he's not encouraging that. What are you seeing? You're all so caught up in your own identity politics. This was over and over and over ad nauseum, which he says in his piece. So I give him a rave because this is certainly a piece he didn't have to write, and he thought it was important too.
All right, Lylah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a rave for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and their executive editor, David Tribman, who is a former Boston Globe, Washington bureau chief, and a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer. My rave is for their front page today, which that first line at the top is a line from the Mourner's Kaddish, the prayer, which is being spoken tonight at their third night of services. It's a really visceral way to bring home the mourning, to explain
what does it mean, do you know?
Well, they say it in the subhead, magnified and sacrificed be your name. Sanctified, sorry. It just took my breath away. It was just it really hit home and brought home the idea of what this community has gone through, and how, as David wrote in a column over the weekend, how this could happen anywhere at any time, and it finally did.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that caught my attention like that, too, I have a rave for the New York Times, who printed a photograph just about a week ago of a young Yemeni girl who was starving to death, and they did it to to show the vast extent of this awful tragedy that's unfolding in Yemen. And unfortunately, she died. And you look at that and you think, really? And it did create an outpouring of sympathy from around America and what can I do and but it wasn't enough to save this young girl. Hopefully it's enough to, it'll get a ball rolling. We get so fatigued by these, it's one plague after another, one famine after another, and nothing like this just to kind of drive it home.
There's still power to one picture sometimes. It goes straight to the heart.
This is exactly an example of a picture is worth 1,000 words.
And it shows a lot about how the importance of the printed media, not just we see video, we see audio, we hear audio, we see TV news, but there's something so powerful in a headline, in an image.
By the way, these are all government-driven tragedies as well. We should point out it isn't just that there isn't enough food, it's calculated that way.